For centuries, the Vorlak Dominion had ruled the galaxy without challenge. To them, war was not a matter of courage or skill, it was a matter of routine. Entire civilizations disappeared under their fleets as if they had never existed. Planets were conquered with terrifying efficiency, and the galaxy's inhabitants began to whisper the name of the Vorlak with fear. They were not just a powerful race, they were the definition of unstoppable. Wherever their ships appeared, darkness followed, and resistance became a memory. The Vorlak did not simply invade worlds, they erased them. They dismantled societies, tore apart governments, and absorbed the wealth and resources of each conquered planet. Their technology was unmatched, their strategies flawless. Fleets that dared to oppose them were crushed within hours, their fleets torn apart in space battles that stretched across entire star systems. Their admirals were brilliant tacticians, and their soldiers were trained from birth to obey without question. Every victory fed their arrogance, and every defeat of another species reminded them of their absolute superiority. Yet, for all their strength, the Vorlak had a habit of underestimating small, quiet worlds. They had surveyed thousands of star systems, calculating threats and dismissing planets that appeared weak. One such world was Earth. For decades, humanity had been nothing more than a tiny, insignificant presence in the galaxy's grand ledger. Earth was technologically limited compared to the Vorlak, a young civilization still recovering from its own internal conflicts and wars. Its radio signals barely reached beyond its own solar system. Satellites scanned the stars for messages, but they were rudimentary, almost laughable by the Vorlak standards. To the conquerors, Earth was not even worth marking on their maps. The Vorlak saw humans as fragile and predictable, easily categorized like any other species they had encountered. They assumed the planet could be absorbed or destroyed without much effort. From their vantage point, Earth was a pale blue dot, small and defenseless, floating in the darkness. Their scouts had already passed through the solar system, gathering data, noting that there were no orbital defenses, no signs of advanced weapons, no fleets capable of interstellar travel. It was a world of farmers, engineers, and dreamers, not warriors. They dismissed it entirely, but the Vorlak were wrong. Humanity had been observing the galaxy for far longer than anyone realized. While the rest of the universe slept, humans had been quietly preparing. They had watched the stars and studied signals from space, slowly building knowledge and technology in secret. Earth had been training its minds, developing ships and weapons capable of surviving the most hostile conditions. They had created hidden fleets, secret bases, and cloaked stations that the Vorlak would never detect. Humanity had learned patience. They knew that the galaxy might never notice them, but they were ready for the day it would. This was the story of two worlds moving in opposite directions. The Vorlak moved with confidence, assuming dominance, their entire culture built on the idea that nothing could stop them. They expanded rapidly, conquering planets faster than any species could imagine. Their ships were massive, heavily armed, and equipped with weapons that could tear through planetary defenses with ease. Every world they approached fell quickly, as if the universe itself conspired against those who resisted. Fear was their most powerful tool, and the galaxy had become too familiar with it. Meanwhile, Earth moved in silence. Humans understood the power of discretion. Their technology was not flashy, and their fleets were not meant for show. Ships were hidden in deep orbits under the crust of moons or submerged beneath the oceans. Weapons were tested in isolated locations invisible to scanners. Humans had learned to be invisible because survival required patience. For centuries they had waited, knowing that sooner or later the galaxy's attention would turn to them. Unlike the Vorlak, humanity did not rush forward. They did not conquer without cause. But when the time came, they would show that appearances could be deceiving. As the Vorlak continued their expansion, the humans studied every known fleet, every pattern, every possible weakness. They observed the way the conquerors moved through star systems, how they attacked, and how they calculated victory. Humans recorded these strategies meticulously, analyzing them with precision. Their scientists, engineers, and tacticians worked together to understand the enemy they had never faced. What the Vorlak did not realize was that Earth had been doing this for generations. Humanity had built a silent knowledge bank of every threat that could come from space, and they had designed weapons and ships to counter them. The arrogance of the Vorlak blinded them. They were so confident that no world could resist them that they did not bother to look closer. Their fleets traveled light years, destroying planets, enslaving populations, and spreading fear, never suspecting that the quiet blue world at the edge of their path held a secret that could challenge their entire empire. The humans did not seek war. They sought survival and, if necessary, defense. But the difference between Earth and every other planet the Vorlak had faced was simple yet profound. Humans were unpredictable. They could think in ways the conquerors could not anticipate. Their strategies were flexible, their creativity unmatched, and their will to survive relentless. Even within human society, preparation had come at a great cost. Entire generations had grown up under secrecy, learning skills that would one day be needed to defend their home. Families trained their children in both science and strategy. Engineers and pilots were not just specialists, they were warriors in their own right. Every city, every hidden station, every classified project contributed to a larger plan. The humans understood that one day the galaxy would test them, and they had committed themselves to being ready. And so the stage was set. Two forces moving in opposite directions. One, the unstoppable conqueror, confident in its superiority. The other, a seemingly fragile civilization, quietly prepared for the day when the universe would come knocking. It was only a matter of time before the paths of these two forces crossed. When the Vorlak finally approached Earth, they believed they would repeat the victories of 1,000 worlds. They did not expect hesitation, resistance, or challenge. They believed in their own infallibility. But history has a way of surprising the arrogant, and for the first time the galaxy would witness a world that was more than it seemed, a planet that, despite its small size and humble appearance, held power beyond imagination. As Earth waited, hidden fleets in orbit and beneath oceans remained silent. Scientists continued to refine weapons and ships. Strategists recalculated plans. Citizens went about their lives, unaware of how close the galaxy was to discovering the truth. The humans had learned patience because they understood that the universe valued speed and power, but sometimes it underestimated those who moved quietly. By the time the Vorlak reached the edge of the solar system, they had no idea what waited for them. The humans were ready. Their warships, cloaked and hidden, awaited the moment when the galaxy's most feared conquerors would finally arrive. And when that moment came, the balance of power would shift in ways the Vorlak could never imagine. The era of unstoppable conquest was about to meet its greatest challenge. Not a rebellion, not a spy, not a single strike, but a quiet, prepared civilization that had waited centuries for the chance to reveal itself. The first part of this story is not about battles or victories. It is about preparation, patience, and the quiet strength of a people underestimated by the universe. The Vorlak had conquered countless worlds without opposition, but this time they would encounter resistance the likes of which they had never seen. And though neither side knew it yet, the galaxy itself was about to change forever. For decades, humanity had watched the stars in silence. While the galaxy seemed vast and empty, humans knew that the universe was full of unseen eyes. Long before the Vorlak discovered Earth, there had been other signals, unexplained movements in space, strange anomalies that defied explanation. Humanity did not panic. Instead, they studied, they prepared, and they learned. They understood that survival in a galaxy like this required patience and secrecy. Earth's governments had long realized that their species was fragile compared to others they could not yet see. Wars and conflicts on their own planet were nothing compared to the threats that could come from beyond the stars. And so, secretly, they began the work that would one day protect their planet. Across the world, scientists, engineers, and strategists collaborated quietly, hidden from public view, developing technologies far beyond what anyone suspected. These efforts were not for power, not for glory. They were for survival. Under the oceans, deep within the Earth's crust, and in the far reaches of the solar system, Humans had built ships, stations, and weapons that no one could detect. They had learned to make enormous warships capable of surviving deep space travel, yet they were concealed with incredible precision. Each ship was a marvel of engineering, designed not for display but for effectiveness. The humans had also invested in smaller, faster ships, capable of maneuvering in ways that larger fleets could not anticipate. They had created weapon systems that were unpredictable, deadly, and precise. Every device, every blueprint, every calculation was part of a single plan to ensure that if the day came, humanity would not be caught off guard. Unlike other species the Vorlak had faced, humans had patience. They did not rush to engage. They understood that showing strength too early could be dangerous, so they remained invisible, quiet observers of the galaxy. Their technology was advanced, but it was hidden. Their ships were equipped with cloaking, mechanisms, sensors beyond any known standard, and weapons designed to strike only when necessary. Humanity had learned that discretion was sometimes more powerful than brute force. While humans prepared, the Vorlak moved through the galaxy like a storm. Their fleets were enormous, stretching across multiple light years, conquering world after world. For the Vorlak, resistance was rare, and success was guaranteed. Every new victory reinforced their arrogance. Every planet they absorbed added to their power. The galaxy trembled before them, and the conquerors expected every species to bow or perish. But Earth was different. To the Vorlak it seemed insignificant, but that small, quiet world had prepared for the moment when its existence would finally be tested. Humans had learned from history. They had observed other species, their methods of war, their weaknesses, and their strengths. They had studied the Vorlak from a distance, tracking their movements through the galaxy, analyzing how they attacked and what patterns they followed. Every detail was important. Every calculation was made with the understanding that when the moment came, humanity could not fail. Unlike other civilizations, humans were adaptable. They could change tactics in an instant, improvise in the face of danger, and learn from mistakes quickly. These qualities would soon give them an advantage the Vorlak could not imagine. It was not only technology that made humans different, it was their spirit. Even under the constant threat of war, humans never gave up hope. They believed in their ability to survive, to fight back if necessary, and to protect the fragile blue planet they called home. Children were taught to understand the stars, to study science, and to think critically. Adults worked tirelessly to improve their technology, refine their strategies, and prepare for the day the galaxy might arrive at their doorstep. There was no fear, only quiet determination. Humanity had learned that courage was not the absence of fear, it was the ability to act despite it. Over time, humans had developed a network of hidden bases and stations. Some were located in the deep oceans, shielded from detection by layers of water and rock. Others were embedded in the crust of distant moons, covered with natural camouflage that blended perfectly with their surroundings. There were even stations placed at the edges of the solar system, far from the eyes of wandering explorers. Each location had a specific purpose: research, defense, training, or communication. Each was linked to a central command system, capable of coordinating the entire human fleet in the event of an attack. Communication within this hidden network was just as secretive. Humans had developed ways to transmit information instantly without revealing their location. Signals bounced between satellites, underground relay stations, and deep space platforms, creating a network that was nearly impossible to intercept. Every plan, every alert, and every calculation could be shared instantly across the globe without anyone outside of this network knowing. Humans had mastered the art of remaining invisible while being fully aware of what was happening in the galaxy. Despite all this preparation, humanity did not seek war. Their efforts were defensive, born from caution and foresight rather than aggression. They had learned that brute force alone was not enough to survive in the galaxy. Intelligence, strategy, and patience were equally important. The human race had survived countless challenges on their own planet, and they were determined not to be caught off guard by a force from the stars. They understood that showing strength too soon could provoke unnecessary conflict, so they waited. They waited for the right moment, for the time when the galaxy's predators would reveal themselves, and the humans could respond with full power. The Vorlak, meanwhile, remained unaware of what awaited them. They continued their path of conquest, confident that no world could resist their fleets. They had never encountered a civilization that could hide so effectively, move with such precision, and prepare so thoroughly. Their arrogance blinded them to the possibility that Earth could be different. In their eyes, the solar system was just another point on the map, a resource to be claimed, a people to be conquered. They underestimated the quiet strength of humanity. And yet, the humans watched. They observed every Vorlak movement in the galaxy, studied their battle formations, analyzed their communication patterns, and tracked their fleets. They understood the conqueror's tactics, but they did not reveal themselves. Every step was carefully planned, every decision measured. Humanity's patience was not passive, it was active preparation, a deliberate strategy to ensure that when the moment of confrontation arrived, they would not just survive, but triumph. As the years passed, humans continued to improve their fleet and weapons. Each ship was tested repeatedly, in simulations and in isolated trials that no one else could see. Engineers and scientists collaborated to create new technologies while tacticians developed strategies for every possible scenario. Even ordinary citizens contributed in ways that might seem small but were vital. Every calculation, every minor innovation, every improvement added to a system that could withstand the might of an empire like the Vorlak. Then came the day when the signals in the outer solar system indicated that the Vorlak were approaching. Scouts had entered nearby star systems, sending information back to the main fleet. They had begun moving toward Earth, confident that they would conquer it as easily as every other world. But this time, they would be wrong. The humans had waited. For this moment, their entire lives, their preparations silent and hidden, their patience unwavering. The moment was approaching, and the quiet blue planet held a secret that no one could have imagined. The humans had built a defense unlike any other, combining intelligence, strategy, and technology in a way the galaxy had never seen. They had prepared not for one ship, not for one attack, but for the entire might of the Vorlak fleet. And when the time came, humanity would no longer be invisible. The world that seemed weak and defenseless would reveal its strength in a way that would change the course of the galaxy forever. It was not pride or desire for conquest that drove the humans. It was survival, preparation, and the knowledge that the galaxy was not always kind to those who appeared weak. Every generation had contributed to this moment, building ships, developing weapons, and honing strategies in secret. They had created a civilization capable of responding to threats with precision, intelligence, and unmatched courage. And as the Vorlak closed in, unaware of the storm they were about to face, humanity remained ready. This was the story of a planet underestimated, a civilization overlooked, and a people who had learned the value of patience. The Vorlak believed they were unstoppable. They believed no world could resist them. But humanity had waited, quietly, steadily, preparing for the day the galaxy would come calling. And when that day arrived, the humans would finally show the universe that even the smallest blue planet could hold a power no one expected. The Vorlak fleet moved through the darkness of space like a shadow stretching across the galaxy. Thousands of ships, each enormous, bristling with weapons and shields, cut through the void as if the universe itself bent to their will. From a distance they appeared unstoppable. Every world they passed fell in silence, consumed by their power and efficiency. Planets that had once been vibrant centers of life were reduced to debris, floating clouds of dust where nothing could survive. Their presence alone caused fear, sending populations into panic and submission. The Vorlak were not just conquerors, they were a force of nature, and nothing had ever stopped them. The leaders of the Vorlak fleet expected the same when they approached the solar system. They had studied countless species, observed civilizations crumble, and refined their strategies over centuries. They did not anticipate resistance. They did not consider the possibility of a planet preparing for war against them. To them, Earth was just another minor point on the map, a world to be absorbed into their dominion with minimal effort. Their scouts had already mapped the planet, confirming what they expected. No advanced orbital defenses, no signs of interstellar travel, nothing to indicate a fleet capable of opposing them. The Vorlak were confident, almost careless in their advance. Yet, unbeknownst to the conquerors, the humans had been waiting. They had observed the Vorlak from the edges of their solar system for decades, tracking movements, studying tactics, and predicting likely attack routes. They knew the invaders would not hesitate to strike, so they had prepared a network of hidden sensors, deep space stations, and cloaked ships that could monitor every approach without revealing themselves. The humans had learned the value of observation and patience. Every piece of information mattered. Every signal, every movement was recorded and analyzed, feeding into the strategy that would soon decide the fate of the planet. As the Vorlak approached, their fleet spread across the solar system, scanning for resistance. Their ships emitted energy waves to probe planetary defenses, yet each scan returned the same result: silence. Earth appeared calm, inactive, and utterly defenseless. The conquerors interpreted this as weakness, a confirmation of their assumption that humanity would surrender or be easily crushed. They advanced with confidence, expecting to overwhelm a small primitive civilization within hours. They did not know that this quiet, seemingly insignificant planet had prepared for the moment when the galaxy would come knocking. Beneath the surface of Earth, the human command centers buzzed with quiet activity. Engineers monitored energy flows and shield systems. Tacticians reviewed the Vorlak fleet's projected approach, and fleet commanders prepared their crews. Ships that had been hidden for decades were now ready to move. Some were stationed in orbit around distant moons, invisible to any scanning device. Others lay beneath the oceans, cloaked beneath layers of water and rock. Each vessel was built for precision, for speed, and for survival. Humans had invested in redundancy and flexibility, ensuring that every ship, from the largest dreadnoughts to the smallest fighters, could respond instantly to an attack. The solar system itself became a stage for a silent war of strategy. Humans calculated every possible route the Vorlak fleet might take, anticipating maneuvers and preparing countermeasures. The approach of the conquerors was deliberate. They believed in overwhelming force, yet the humans had designed defenses that relied not on brute strength alone, but on unpredictability. Ships could appear where the Vorlak least expected them. Weapons could strike in ways that bypassed traditional shields. Human tactics combined intelligence with innovation, ensuring that the first contact would not be a simple battle, but a test of adaptability and resilience. As the Vorlak entered the outer reaches of the solar system, their sensors detected something unusual. A small disturbance, barely noticeable, rippled through space near the orbit of Neptune. At first they ignored it, dismissing it as a natural anomaly, a minor fluctuation caused by gravity or cosmic debris. But the anomaly persisted, subtle and deliberate. It was not part of any natural pattern, and yet it did not match any technology the Vorlak had encountered. Curious but unconcerned, they continued their advance, confident that their superior technology could overcome any obstacle. They did not yet realize that they had been observed, studied, and anticipated. Within Earth's hidden command centers, the human leaders tracked every Vorlak movement. They monitored fleet formation, weapon readiness, and communications. They did not panic. Instead, they calculated, adjusted, and prepared. Every detail mattered. The humans understood that the first impression could determine the outcome of the encounter. They had learned from history that patience and observation often outweighed raw power. By remaining hidden, by moving in silence, they could gain the advantage of surprise, turning the Vorlak's confidence against them. The Vorlak fleet moved closer, their armadas darkening the skies of the outer solar system. Their first wave of scouts passed through the asteroid belt, checking for defenses. Nothing responded. Their weapon systems hummed in readiness, calibrated for rapid deployment. The conquerors expected resistance to emerge at any moment, yet none came. The calmness of the solar system unnerved some of their commanders. It was unusual for a planet to remain completely inactive in the face of imminent invasion. But the Vorlak, confident in their superiority, reassured themselves that this was merely the quiet before inevitable conquest. Meanwhile, human pilots prepared their vessels for the first engagement. These were not ordinary ships. They were designed to exploit every weakness the Vorlak might have. Cloaked fighters would move quickly, striking key points before retreating to safety. Dreadnoughts, massive and heavily armed, lay in wait beyond the visible horizon, ready to emerge at the exact moment needed. Even the smallest crew understood the stakes. They had trained for this moment their entire lives. Their planet, their families, and their civilization depended on their ability to execute plans flawlessly. Fear existed, but it was controlled, channeled into focus and determination. The calm of space was deceptive. The Vorlak believed they were entering empty territory, but in reality they were being observed with precision. Humans had developed sensors that could detect energy signatures and movement without revealing their position. They had calculated the Vorlak's speed, trajectory, and likely formations. Every ship, every weapon, and every possible maneuver had been anticipated. The humans had turned patience into a weapon as powerful as any cannon or laser. Time seemed to stretch as the Vorlak fleet drew closer. They were only light hours away from the inner solar system, ready to assert their dominance. The humans waited, hidden but ready. Their calculations were complete. Their ships were in position. Every weapon system had been checked, every crew briefed. The moment the Vorlak believed the solar system was defenseless, humanity would reveal its true power. And yet, even as they waited, humans did not act recklessly. They understood that a single mistake could end their civilization before it truly began. Patience had been their greatest ally. By remaining calm, observant, and precise, they ensured that their first move would be decisive. The Vorlak, with all their arrogance, would not anticipate the scale, coordination, or innovation of what awaited them. Every advantage humans had gained from secrecy, preparation, and study would now be unleashed at exactly the right moment. The solar system, which had seemed quiet and insignificant to the conquerors, was alive with hidden activity. Deep space stations transmitted vital information across hidden networks. Cloaked ships shifted slightly in their orbits, adjusting for the final positioning of the fleet. Human engineers monitored power levels and weapon calibrations, ensuring that every system operated at peak efficiency. It was a coordinated effort that spanned the planet, the moons, and deep space, an orchestra of precision designed to surprise the galaxy's most feared conquerors. Finally, the first scouts of the Vorlak fleet crossed the orbit of the outer planets. Their energy sensors, capable of detecting even minor technological signatures, picked up nothing unusual. Earth appeared calm, silent, and unprepared. The Vorlak assumed their victory was near. They did not know that the calmness they saw was not weakness, but the quiet before a storm the galaxy had never witnessed. Every ship, every human, every weapon had been placed carefully to maximize the impact of the first strike. The moment of truth was approaching, and in this silence the humans waited. They did not celebrate, they did not rush, and they did not panic. They simply watched, prepared to act with precision and ready to defend their home. The galaxy might have underestimated them for centuries, but now at last, humanity was about to prove that appearances could be deceiving, that patience could be more powerful than arrogance, and that a quiet blue planet, long ignored, could change the course of history forever. The stage was set. The Vorlak believed they would conquer Earth with ease, as they had done with thousands of other worlds. They did not know that they were about to encounter resistance the likes of which they had never imagined. They did not realize that the quiet, unassuming humans had been preparing for this exact moment for generations. And as both forces moved into position, the first act of the greatest confrontation in the solar system was about to begin. The Vorlak fleet moved closer to Earth with the confidence of conquerors who had never known defeat. From their massive ships, the galaxy looked small and simple, easy to dominate. They had destroyed countless worlds before, absorbing their resources, enslaving populations, and leaving nothing but emptiness behind. To the Vorlak, victory was not a question, it was inevitable. Every ship in the fleet was bristling with weapons, ready to unleash destruction on the first sign of resistance. Their scouts had scanned Earth and reported no unusual activity, confirming their belief that this would be another effortless conquest. Yet the humans had been waiting. Hidden across the solar system were ships of all sizes, perfectly camouflaged, their locations known only to the humans who manned them. Massive dreadnoughts lay deep beneath the surface of the oceans and inside the hidden caves of distant moons. Smaller, faster vessels were positioned in orbit, cloaked from any sensors, ready to strike with precision and speed. Every ship, every weapon, every crew member had been trained and prepared for this exact moment. Humans had studied the Vorlak for decades, predicting their movements and preparing responses for every possible scenario. They had waited patiently, knowing that surprise would be their greatest advantage. The first sign that Earth was not as helpless as it seemed came as a ripple in space itself. The Vorlac fleet's long-range sensors detected a sudden anomaly near the outer edge of the solar system. Energy waves that should not have been there shimmered in the darkness, bending light in impossible ways. Initially, the Vorlac commanders assumed it was some natural phenomenon, a quirk of the solar system or a cosmic disturbance. Their arrogance made them dismissive. No civilization they had ever encountered could create something of that scale or power. Then, without warning, a massive warship emerged. It was unlike anything the Vorlac had ever seen. Its hull was enormous, dwarfing even the largest ships in their fleet, yet it moved with fluid grace, almost as if it were alive. The design was simple, elegant, and terrifyingly efficient. Its surface glowed faintly, reflecting no light, cloaked in a technology that hid its true capabilities. There were no markings to suggest allegiance, only a symbol etched faintly into its armor that the Vorlac could not recognize. And in that moment, the conquerors realized Earth had not been helpless. A silence fell over the Vorlac fleet. This was the first time in centuries that they had encountered a ship whose power and presence they could not immediately measure. The sensors on their command ships failed to calculate the ship's energy output accurately. Weapons that would have obliterated an ordinary planet were ineffective in even estimating the strength of this vessel. Their confidence faltered, replaced by an unfamiliar tension. The conquerors had never faced the unexpected. For the first time, they were unsure. From the humans' perspective, every action was calculated. The warship had been waiting, hidden, ready to emerge at the precise moment when the Vorlac assumed Earth was defenseless. Its sensors tracked every movement of the approaching fleet, noting formations, trajectories, and weapon readiness. Strategists aboard the vessel analyzed the Vorlac's tactics in real time, adjusting positions, weapon alignments, and defense systems to exploit any weakness. Humans understood that the first impression could determine the outcome of this engagement. They were not attacking blindly. They were striking with purpose, precision, and intelligence. Then came the message. A single transmission, simple but deliberate, echoed across the Vorlac fleet's communication networks. It was in no known language to the conquerors, yet its tone carried authority, warning, and inevitability all at once. The Vorlac paused, confused, unable to decode the message, yet aware that it was directed at them. They had expected submission. They had expected resistance to be weak and uncoordinated. Instead, they faced a force that commanded attention and demanded respect. The silence that followed was more powerful than any weapon. They realized they were no longer the hunters. Suddenly, the human warship moved. It shifted position, slipping through space with an agility that defied logic. Energy beams cut through the darkness, striking the lead ships of the Vorlac fleet with precision. Entire vessels disintegrated in seconds, their shields no match for the unknown technology. Smaller human ships uncloaked, darting across the battlefield like shadows, targeting key points in the Vorlac formation. The fleet, once confident and invincible, now found itself disoriented and vulnerable. Chaos spread through the ranks of the conquerors as the humans demonstrated a level of coordination and firepower they had never imagined. Despite their experience, the Vorlac were forced to adapt. Their admirals scrambled to reorganize their fleet, issuing commands to counter the sudden assault. They fired massive weapons, attempting to overwhelm the humans with sheer force. But every move had been anticipated. The human warship shifted positions, using space itself to shield its fleet. Smaller vessels struck with precision, sabotaging the enemy's command systems and targeting critical weaponry. The Vorlac realized that their usual tactics were ineffective. This was not a battle they could win through strength alone. Every strike the humans made was calculated to minimize risk while maximizing damage. Their technology allowed them to bypass shields, penetrate armor, and disable systems without unnecessary destruction. Even their smallest ships were equipped with weapons capable of taking out multiple Vorlac vessels in a single strike. And all the while, the human crews remained calm, focused, and coordinated. They did not panic, they did not hesitate, and they did not make mistakes. Every human aboard the warship understood the stakes. Their planet, their species, and their way of life depended on the success of this engagement. The Vorlac had underestimated the humans in ways they could not recover from. They had assumed Earth was primitive, incapable of interstellar travel, and weak in technology. They had believed that fear alone would compel surrender. Now they were learning the truth. Appearances were deceptive, and patience, preparation, and intelligence could turn even the smallest force into a formidable opponent. The humans had created a warship capable of facing the galaxy's most feared conquerors, and they had done it without drawing attention until the perfect moment. As the battle unfolded, the scale of human ingenuity became clear. Drones deployed from the warship moved like swarms of intelligent machines, sabotaging Vorlak ships and disrupting their formations. Energy weapons sliced through armor at critical points, disabling key systems. Communication networks of the Vorlak fleet were overwhelmed by interference generated by the human vessel, leaving their ships unable to coordinate effectively. The invaders, who had conquered countless worlds without opposition, now found themselves struggling to survive against a single human warship and its carefully coordinated support. In the command centers hidden beneath Earth, humans monitored every action. Scientists, engineers, and strategists tracked the battle in real time, adjusting parameters, recalibrating weapons, and sending instructions to hidden vessels. They had anticipated every movement of the Vorlak, and now they were executing the final phases of their long-prepared plan. Every calculation, every strategic placement, and every hidden resource contributed to the unfolding victory. The humans had waited for this moment for generations, and now they were demonstrating that the power of patience and preparation could rival the might of a galaxy-spanning empire. The Vorlak, despite their strength and experience, began to falter. Their ships were disabled faster than they could repair them. Formation after formation broke apart under coordinated strikes. Confidence gave way to confusion and panic. The conquerors realized that they were facing a force unlike any they had ever encountered. Their arrogance, built over centuries of victory, could not withstand the ingenuity, intelligence, and determination of humanity. And all of this had been hidden, waiting for the moment when the galaxy's most feared conquerors finally assumed dominance. By the time the first full hour of engagement passed, the human warship had already established a clear advantage. Vorlak vessels were retreating in small groups, struggling to regroup as their fleet coordination collapsed. The humans did not pursue recklessly. They controlled the battle, ensuring minimal risk while maximizing impact. The warship itself remained nearly invulnerable, shifting positions, cloaking when necessary, and striking precisely when opportunities arose. The conqueror's confidence had been shattered, replaced by a deep and unfamiliar fear. The moment of revelation was complete. The Vorlak now knew that Earth was not the primitive world they had assumed. It was a planet capable of defending itself against even the most advanced and ruthless invaders. The humans had turned the tables entirely, demonstrating that preparation, intelligence, and innovation could overcome even the most overwhelming force. The galaxy would never again underestimate Earth, and yet the humans did not celebrate. They remained focused, calm, and ready. The battle had revealed their strength, but it had also confirmed the importance of patience, preparation, and strategy. For generations, they had worked silently, building the technology, training the crews, and studying the enemy. Now, for the first time, the galaxy had witnessed the fruits of that work. The Vorlak fleet, once confident and unstoppable, now knew fear. The humans had shown the moment had come for the humans to show the full extent of their preparation. The Vorlak fleet, once feared across the galaxy, was now facing resistance it could never have imagined. Their ships, massive and bristling with weapons, were organized into tight formations designed to overwhelm any opponent. But Earth's fleet, long hidden and carefully positioned, was ready. Every vessel had been placed in orbit, under moons, beneath oceans, or in deep space, perfectly concealed until the exact moment they were needed. The humans had prepared for this encounter for decades, and now every plan, every strategy, every calculation would be tested. The Vorlak continued to advance, attempting to reorganize after their first encounter with the human warship. They had expected the planet to surrender easily, but now confusion spread through their command. Signals that once carried orders now returned fragmented or disrupted by human interference. The conqueror's confidence was faltering. Their fleet, which had crushed thousands of worlds, was beginning to crumble in the face of resistance from a single, carefully hidden planet. They had underestimated humans entirely, believing them too primitive to pose any threat. Human ships moved with precision, Dreadnoughts emerged from deep space hiding points, positioning themselves in key locations to block the Vorlak's path. Smaller, faster vessels darted across the battlefield, striking weak points in enemy formations and retreating before the enemy could respond. Even the smallest fighters were equipped with weapons capable of taking out much larger ships. Every human crew had trained for this moment, and their coordination was flawless. It was a display of strategy, precision, and timing that left the Vorlak unable to adapt quickly. The battle unfolded across the solar system. Energy beams tore through the void, striking Vorlak ships with pinpoint accuracy. Shields failed, weapons misfired, and entire squadrons were disabled before they could even react. The humans had studied the Vorlak for decades, predicting likely attack patterns and preparing counters for each. They were not merely defending. They were using intelligence, strategy, and patience to dismantle an empire in real time. The Vorlak, though powerful, were caught off guard by tactics they had never encountered before. Human drones moved like swarms across the battlefield. Some sabotaged Vorlak ships from within, infiltrating their systems and disabling critical components. Others provided support, relaying real-time information to larger ships and adjusting the course of the battle as needed. Every move was calculated, every strike deliberate. The humans understood the importance of control and observation. Unlike the Vorlak, who relied on brute force and overwhelming numbers, humans relied on adaptability and intelligence. They knew that chaos could be a weapon when used with precision. The Vorlak fired relentlessly, attempting to crush the humans with sheer power. Massive weapons capable of tearing planets apart were directed toward Earth's hidden fleets. Yet each attack was anticipated. Humans had built systems capable of dispersing energy, redirecting force, and protecting critical infrastructure. Dreadnoughts absorbed damage that would have destroyed lesser ships, while smaller vessels moved unpredictably, evading attacks with remarkable agility. The humans had learned that survival required more than technology. It required understanding the enemy and using their strengths against them. For every Vorlak ship destroyed, the humans adjusted their strategy. They studied the enemy's responses, identified weak points, and coordinated strikes with precision. Their command centers, hidden beneath Earth's surface, monitored every movement, relaying orders to ships scattered across the solar system. Engineers recalibrated weapons, tacticians adjusted positions, and every crew member acted with focus and determination. It was a battle of intelligence as much as firepower, and the humans were winning. Even the Vorlak command vessels, massive and heavily armed, were not immune. Human ships targeted critical systems, disabling weapons and communication arrays. Entire squadrons found themselves isolated, unable to regroup or receive instructions. The conquerors' coordination, once flawless, began to break down. Confusion spread and fear replaced arrogance. They had faced many enemies before, but never one that could anticipate their moves, counter their strategies, and strike with such precision. The solar system itself became a battlefield. Asteroids, moons, and planets were used strategically by the humans, providing cover, hiding points, and vantage positions. Energy beams sliced through the darkness, striking ships in impossible patterns. Human drones repaired critical systems mid-battle, ensuring that key ships remained operational. Even the smallest human vessels played a vital role, using speed, intelligence, and coordination to turn the tide against a much larger force. The Vorlak attempted to regroup, forming new formations and trying to overwhelm individual human ships with concentrated attacks. Yet each attempt was met with resistance. The humans anticipated the moves, countering with coordinated strikes that disabled Vorlak ships and left others exposed. It was a display of tactical brilliance, showing that numbers alone could not win a battle. The humans had turned patience, preparation, and observation into a weapon more powerful than any cannon or energy beam. As the battle raged on, the human warship that had first appeared in the outer solar system continued to dominate. It moved with speed and precision, striking key targets, coordinating the smaller fleets, and providing a command center for the entire operation. Its weapons were powerful, but it was the intelligence behind every decision that made it deadly. The Vorlak had never faced an opponent capable of such coordination, and they struggled to respond effectively. Their arrogance, which had carried them through countless victories, was failing them now. Human engineers monitored the energy output of their ships, adjusting shields and weapon systems in real time. Tacticians tracked Vorlak movements, predicting attacks before they occurred. Every action was calculated, every response measured. The humans had built a system where every crew member, every ship, and every weapon contributed to the larger strategy. It was a level of preparation that no conqueror could have expected, and it allowed a single planet to defend itself against a fleet that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries. Despite the intensity of the battle, humans remained calm. They had trained for this moment, and every crew member understood their role. There was no panic, no hesitation, and no fear that could interfere with their performance. Their coordination was near perfect, allowing them to respond to Vorlak attacks with speed, accuracy, and effectiveness. Every ship, from the largest dreadnought to the smallest fighter, operated as part of a single unified force. The Vorlak fleet, once confident and unstoppable, began to break apart. Ships retreated, formations collapsed, and command structures were compromised. Entire squadrons were destroyed or disabled, leaving others vulnerable. The conquerors, who had believed themselves invincible, were now fighting to survive. They had underestimated a species they considered primitive, failing to recognize the strength, intelligence, and resilience that lay hidden beneath the calm surface of a small blue planet. By the end of the first day of battle, the humans had established clear dominance. The Vorlak fleet was scattered, disorganized, and in retreat. The human warship remained operational, coordinating strikes and maintaining control over the battlefield. Smaller vessels continued to harass enemy ships, exploiting weaknesses and preventing regrouping. The solar system, once expected to fall easily, had become a fortress defended by a civilization that had spent generations preparing for this exact moment. The human victory was not complete, but it was decisive. The Vorlak had been stopped, their confidence shattered, and their fleet forced into retreat. Humanity had demonstrated that intelligence, preparation, and patience could overcome even the most powerful and experienced conquerors. The battle was a turning point, showing the galaxy that Earth was not a minor, defenseless planet, but a civilization capable of defending itself with skill, strategy, and determination. And yet humans did not celebrate. They remained vigilant, monitoring the retreating Vorlak forces and ensuring that no immediate threat remained. Their work was not done. They knew that the galaxy was full of dangers and that other challenges would come. But in this moment, they had proven something extraordinary, that even a single planet, when prepared, united, and determined, could defend itself against a fleet that had seemed invincible. The solar system, once thought to be a minor backwater, had become a symbol of human resilience and ingenuity. The Vorlak, who had conquered countless worlds with ease, had been forced to retreat in the face of a civilization they had underestimated. The humans had shown that strategy, intelligence, and preparation could turn the tide of battle, even against overwhelming odds. And as the fleets regrouped and plans were made for the next phase, one thing was clear. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through aggression or conquest, but through courage, skill, and determination. The aftermath of the battle left the solar system in a tense, uneasy calm. The Vorlak fleet, once feared across the galaxy, had been pushed back, scattered, and weakened. Their ships drifted in retreat, some damaged beyond repair, others struggling to regroup. The conquerors, who had believed themselves unstoppable, were now forced to acknowledge the unexpected power of a single planet and its hidden fleet. Humanity had done more than defend its home. They had changed the way the galaxy would perceive them forever. Hidden command centers across Earth buzzed with activity. Scientists, engineers, tacticians, and ship crews monitored every signal from the retreating Vorlak ships, ensuring that no vessel had survived undetected. Communications flowed across the hidden network of stations, coordinating patrols, scanning for possible threats, and reinforcing defenses. Humans were cautious, understanding that the battle was only the beginning. Though they had won a decisive encounter, the galaxy was vast and danger still lurked among the stars. Every move had to be measured, every decision carefully considered. The warship that had first revealed humanity's strength remained cloaked in deep space, a silent sentinel. It had struck the decisive blows, coordinated attacks, and demonstrated the intelligence and preparation behind every human action. Though immense in size and power, the ship was more than technology. It represented the skill, ingenuity, and courage of a species that had been underestimated for centuries. Every action taken by this vessel, and the crews aboard it had been calculated to maximize efficiency while minimizing unnecessary destruction. The humans had proven that strength alone was not enough to dominate a battle. Strategy, patience, and foresight could turn the tide. On the surface of Earth, life continued, though in secret the scale of the events unfolding was monumental. Ordinary citizens, unaware of the full extent of the battle, went about their daily routines while hidden forces moved quietly to protect the planet. Human engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to repair and upgrade systems, learning from every aspect of the battle. Every weapon, every ship, and every piece of equipment was scrutinized, refined, and improved. Humanity understood that the galaxy would not forget this day, and they had to be ready for whatever came next. As the Vorlak fleet retreated, their command structure in chaos, reports reached their leaders across the galaxy. Word of Earth's unexpected strength began to spread. They had believed themselves invincible, yet a single planet had halted their advance and inflicted severe damage. For the first time, whispers of fear replaced arrogance among the Vorlak ranks. The galaxy, once silent under the shadow of their dominance, now knew of a species that could challenge even the most powerful empire. Humanity's patience and preparation had given them a chance not just to survive, but to earn recognition and respect. Humans did not rush to celebrate. They understood that survival required humility and vigilance. The battle had revealed the truth of their strength, but it had also exposed the reality of the galaxy. It was dangerous, unpredictable, and full of empires that might seek revenge or dominance. They strengthened hidden fleets, reinforced orbital defenses, and expanded surveillance networks to ensure that no threat could approach unnoticed. Humanity had not only fought to defend Earth, they had also prepared to protect the future of their species across the solar system and beyond. In the quiet corners of deep space, hidden human fleets moved into strategic positions. Patrols swept through the outer reaches of the system, ensuring no Vorlak scouts or hidden vessels remained. Drones were deployed to monitor anomalies and detect any incoming signals. Every ship had a purpose, every crew a mission. Humans understood that the galaxy was now aware of their presence, and with that awareness came both opportunity and danger. They could no longer remain entirely hidden, yet the revelation of their power would serve as a deterrent. Those who had once considered Earth weak would now think twice before challenging it. The psychological impact on the Vorlak was immense. They had underestimated humanity, assuming a simple, defenseless world. Now they faced the reality that intelligence, coordination, and preparation could overcome raw strength and experience. Reports from their retreating fleet painted a clear picture. The humans were not only technologically advanced, but adaptable, strategic, and unpredictable. The conquerors who had thought themselves invincible were now cautious, reconsidering every assumption they had made about civilizations they deemed weak. Humanity had proven more than just military strength. They had demonstrated unity, resilience, and innovation. The solar system's defense had been orchestrated by generations of careful planning, with ordinary citizens unknowingly contributing through research, engineering, and technological advancement. Every ship, station, and weapon system was part of a larger strategy. Humans had used patience, observation, and intelligence as weapons just as powerful as lasers and missiles. This was a lesson the Vorlak and the galaxy would never forget. As word of humanity's victory spread, the balance of power in nearby systems began to shift. Other civilizations, previously quiet or hidden, started to take notice. A species long dismissed as insignificant had revealed that it was capable of defending itself against the most feared conquerors in the galaxy. The human strategy, patience, and intelligence became a story whispered across worlds, inspiring both fear and respect. Those who once considered expansion without resistance suddenly reconsidered. Humanity had earned a reputation not through conquest, but through strength tempered with precision and intelligence. The humans themselves did not seek revenge or further conquest. Their victory had been defensive, a response to aggression. Yet they understood that the galaxy would not forget. Future encounters would require the same careful preparation, strategy, and unity that had allowed them to survive this first engagement. Humans worked to expand their hidden networks, build additional fleets, and train new generations of crews. They were determined to ensure that Earth and eventually their species across the stars would always be prepared. The Vorlak, meanwhile, faced internal consequences. Their leaders demanded explanations for the unexpected defeat. Fleet commanders, once celebrated for their victories, were questioned about their failures. Confidence across the Empire wavered, as reports from scouts described the humans' intelligence, coordination, and unexpected technology. For the first time, the Vorlak were forced to acknowledge that there were species capable of resisting them. They had assumed the galaxy was theirs, but the events in the solar system proved otherwise. Humanity had rewritten the rules of engagement, demonstrating that patience and preparation could challenge even the strongest force. Back on Earth, humans continued to rebuild and strengthen their systems. Scientists analyzed the battle, identifying ways to improve defenses and enhance technology. Engineers worked on new ships, weapons, and cloaking mechanisms. Tacticians refined strategies and created contingency plans for any future threats. Humanity understood that this victory, while decisive, was only the beginning of their presence in the galaxy. They had revealed themselves, and now they had to be ready for the attention, challenges, and opportunities that would follow. The planet itself remained calm on the surface, though beneath, a network of activity ensured security and readiness. Ordinary citizens lived their lives unaware of the scale of the events above them. Hidden stations, deep-sea facilities, and orbital command centers continued to monitor the galaxy, coordinating fleets and preparing for any new arrivals. Every step was taken with care, ensuring that the planet remained safe while humanity solidified its position as a formidable presence in the cosmos. The story of this first confrontation spread across the stars. The Vorlak, once feared as unstoppable, had been forced to retreat in the face of a species they had underestimated. Other civilizations took note, realizing that humans were not simply a minor, defenseless world, but a people capable of defending themselves with intelligence, strategy, and courage. The galaxy would remember Earth not as a planet to conquer, but as a symbol of ingenuity and resilience. And though the battle had ended, the humans remained vigilant. They knew the galaxy was vast and full of unknown dangers. They had revealed their presence, but they had also shown that they were ready for whatever came next. Patience, preparation, and intelligence had won the day, but humanity understood that survival in the universe required constant readiness. Every ship, every crew, every strategy continued to evolve, ensuring that the planet and its people would remain safe and strong. The solar system, once quiet and overlooked, had become a fortress. Humanity had turned patience into a weapon, preparation into power, and intelligence into defense. The Vorlak had been forced to retreat, and the galaxy had been forced to take notice. Earth was no longer a minor, defenseless world. It was a civilization that had earned respect through strategy, courage, and unity. The humans had not only defended their home, they had changed the way the galaxy would view them forever. And as the planet continued to orbit its sun, the hidden fleets and command centers prepared for the future. Humans understood that the universe would continue to challenge them, but they also knew that patience, preparation, and intelligence would always give them an edge. The galaxy had been reminded that